Nissan's NISMO 370Z has been out for a few years already, but it only just went on sale in Canada. So looking to take advantage of a good situation, here we are at Toronto Motorsports Park, just an hour's drive north of Buffalo. When we last drove a standard version of Nissan's Z car, the 370Z, we really loved it. We thought it had performance on par with a BMW Z4. The only problem with the car is, well, the interior is kind of chintzy for the level of performance that you're getting. With this NISMO version, Nissan basically just, says, forget about it. We're not even going to try on the interior. They actually strip it down some more. They decontent it a little bit and give you more of what you really want, which you can see right here. The NISMO Z has a long list of modifications from the factory car, and they're all functional parts, which is great. Even the aerodynamics are functional. On the side, first, you can see those great 19-inch raised wheels, and they're coated in some pretty serious rubber. They're 245s in the front and 285s in the rear that'll really help you put the power on early when you're clipping off the apex. And inside those forged aluminum lightweight wheels are some pretty impressive brakes. It's actually the sport brake system that Nissan offers on the regular 370Z, and it really is impressive. On pretty brief lapping stints, 3 laps, 4 laps at a time, we experienced no brake fade, which is really great, especially on a track like this with some pretty long straights that'll really test those brakes. And of course, Nissan's suspension gurus went to work updating pretty much everything about the car. It actually has stiffer sway bars, it has stiffer spring rates and dampers. So everything's been changed and really firmed up. You feel it on the street in terms of just a little bit of harshness to the drive quality, but here on the track, it just feels really well planted, very little body roll. It's a great package. And let's not forget the aerodynamic kit on this car. It really is aggressive, and sure, it looks hot on the street, but it's functional, delivering 150 pounds of downforce at 75 miles an hour. It's got this enormous rear wing, and it's actually 6 inches longer than the stock car because of the great big lip on the front that really sort of gives it that aerodynamic advantage. If you're a fan of the big spoiler out back, chances are you're also going to love the nice red engine cover. Now, there are some functional things under the hood here too. You've got this nice NISMO strut tower bar that does help the chassis give a bit more rigidity. Under that red cover, however, there is a little bit more horsepower than before. The factory 3.7 liter V6 stays intact, but it does make 18 more horsepower. So we're now up to 350 horsepower. That comes at 400 RPM higher, so you do have to rev up to 7,400 RPM as opposed to 7,000 RPM. But on a track day like this, we're happy to do that. There's also an extra 6 foot-pounds of torque for whatever gain that gives you. One of the things that really makes this car great is Nissan's Synchro Rev Match transmission. It's really just an incredible setup, and doing all the heel towing for you is great. I mean, a lot of purists would tell you that, that's not the way it's supposed to be, but the reality is, a lot of people don't come to the track all the time, and if you want to come just on the occasional, if you're the kind of guy that buys a car like this because it looks hot, but you really want to take it out and beat on it when you want to, well, this will let you do it, and you get to be a real pro. I mean, the heel towing on its own, it feels so good, it sounds awesome, and it really is always perfectly matched to what you want it to be doing. With the traction control off, you can really drive this car with the rear, and it's an absolute blast when you do it. I mean, it's great. The car still will detect some understeer and cut you out of that, which is a bit annoying because sometimes you feel like you're in control even when the car says you're not. We're surprised that the limiting factor on this car isn't really the brakes or tires, and that usually is true with any street car, no matter what the type. It really is the factor that needs that engine cooler, and if we can get that in this car or an aftermarket version, it's definitely worth it. We wouldn't write the car off because of it. It's a shame it doesn't have it, but if you bought this car, go out and get yourself an aftermarket oil cooler if you're going to take it to the track. Nissan packages all this together for $40,830. Now, that's about $4,500 more than sort of a fully upgraded version of the Z. It is $10,000 more than a base model of the car. So it's a pretty big upgrade, but you really do get a lot of stuff. And as we've seen on the track, it's a pretty significant difference, especially even with some simple things like the wheels and tires, and of course, those big brakes. But if you do want the 370 NISMO Z, that's the Canadian spec model, you have to pay about $47,000 Canadian. The only problem we've discovered with this car here on the racetrack is that lack of an oil cooler, which you could really use. Anybody who buys this car really should get one installed aftermarket, or Nissan really should start offering it up front. Even if they do tack on $500, $1,000, it'd be worth every penny. Apart from that, the NISMO 370Z is an impressive performance vehicle, and it's a bargain for the price.